back for the Steelers right now, Brian?
Because
they don't have a running game.
They don't get the ball?
They don't have a running game.
Okay.
That's why.
Let's go to the next thing.
Cut it out with the turkey bacon slander. I saw you this morning.
You know what? Let's move on from Steven's wrong list, as Ryan
ain't
called
wrong,
it.
Molly.
Ryan, do you know
Thank
that
you.
Purple is the color of royalty. It's what Ryan said. It's not what I said, Stephen A. I think it's
You just
fabulous,
said it.
as
Okay.
always. All right, guys, let's go to the Cowboys here. Stephen A.'s Cowboys continue to struggle on both sides of the ball, losing 34-17 to Lamar and the Ravens. Dallas allowed 294 rushing yards, the third most in team history. Stephen A., was this game more about the Ravens playing well or Dallas struggling?
Of course it was about Dallas struggling. Their defense is hideous. Their defense is so bad, they're a top 6 team defensively against the pass because nobody throws the football on them because they don't have to. They know you can run it on them all day long. They rank dead last in the National Football League against the run and dead last in points allowed. Why? Because they give up an average of 5.2 yards a rush, which is one of the worst in history, in NFL history, not to mention the fact that they've surrendered over 2,000 yards, 2,014 to be exact, on the ground alone in the first 12 games of this season. That is just an absolutely atrocious defensive statistic to go by. Mike Nolan should never have been the defensive coordinator. Last time he was in Atlanta in 2014, and they were the second worst defense in the National Football League. And that's who Mike McCarthy elected to bring on board as his defensive coordinator. And as a result, it's had a negative effect on the rest of the team. DeMarcus Lawrence, Jalen Smith, Leighton Vander Esch, and those boys, they don't seem like they want to play for this coach. They don't seem like they want to be there. They should have left those cats, Rashad and I forgot, Rod Marinelli. They should have left them there, but they didn't do that. As a result, that puts even more pressure on the offense that no longer has Dak Prescott. The Dallas Cowboys are awful. They're atrocious, okay? And the fans, even though they deserve it, and I'm very happy for the misery that they are experiencing. I got my boy, my college buddy, Mark Turner, one of the biggest Cowboy fans I know. It's an APB out for him. I got his wife and kids looking for him. We can't find him because the brother's hiding, because that's how ashamed he is of his Dallas Cowboys. They are pathetic. They are awful defensively. As a result, it has contaminated the rest of the team, which is why they deserve their comeuppance. This is bad Cowboys all day. It wasn't about good Ravens. The Cowboys stink, period.
This was about the Ravens, and it was good Ravens. We all know the Cowboys stink already, and they're the worst in rush defense. We get that. But the Ravens got twice on the ground what the Cowboys are used to giving up. 2 times. And that's not just because Lamar Jackson is the greatest running quarterback ever, right? It's because that's not just Ingram. They have Evans, they have Dobbins, they have 4 guys, including the quarterback, that can get it done on the ground, and they got run blocking to boot, right? They're winning up front. Now, did they give up a lot of points to Ravens? No, and that's the Ravens defense. Even through the losing streak, Titans scored 30 on them. Otherwise, it's very tough to score on the Ravens. They don't give up a lot of points. Even when they bent yesterday, they didn't break. And even if Zerline hits all the field goals, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. They still lose the game, the Cowboys. So when you look at Baltimore coming off of COVID, coming off of a 3-game losing streak, 4 of the last 5, coming off a Steelers game, coming off a short week, that was good Baltimore. Lamar Jackson even threw a dime to Hollywood Brown. You saw what you needed to see as a Ravens fan. It's not perfect. There are things, Lamar Jackson missed some throws too. It's not perfect. And the defense, by the way, wasn't what you come to expect from the Ravens. But it was good, trending in the right direction, and that's why they gashed the Cowboys for twice as many yards as the Cowboys normally give up on the ground.
Max Kellerman, the only reason why you even remember Hollywood Brown's name is because how do you forget Hollywood? Whether it's Hollywood, Florida, or Hollywood as in Tinseltown, where I am
Marquise.
now. It's the only reason. There was nothing else to remember about him, and it's not his fault. Their passing game just wasn't that great this year. Second worst in the National Football League, where Lamar Jackson spent weeks talking about how they got to improve the passing game. Guess what? After last night, that's still the case. He only threw for 107 yards, threw a couple of touchdown passes, a couple of nice throws, but they still have to address their passing issues. It's just that wasn't a story of relevance last night because they rushed for 294 yards against the Cowboys defense. When you're running the football, you're moving the chains, you're making things happen, you're keeping the opposing offense off the field, you're demoralizing defenses and what have you. And that's exactly what they did to the Dallas Cowboys last night. The Dallas Cowboys, from a defensive perspective, is absolutely positively pathetic. And when you have a pathetic defense, and that's more glaring than anything else, I find it very, very difficult to look at the Ravens and say anything positive other than the fact that they handled their business. They won a game they were supposed to win because they were going up against a horrid defense. That's all you can really say.
Steelers, Colts, who was it? Steelers, Colts, Titans, Steelers. Like they had, I said Titans, Colts. They had a tough schedule. They hit a tough spot in their schedule, and it coincided with them getting COVID, Stephen A. Like and by the way, they weren't getting blown out. They were losing some close games. So you have to take into consideration everything that's gone on in their season. Has Lamar been struggling in the passing game? And have teams made adjustments that now he and Harbaugh have to make adjustments to? The answer is yes. Did we get all the answers against the Cowboys? No. But they needed to start doing some things well, and they, especially coming off of COVID and on a short week after a Steelers game, and they showed they did. And by the way, when I ran through those teams that I just mentioned, some of them were close games. They beat the Colts. Like the Ravens beat the Colts. Not like they haven't beaten any good teams this year. And the Cowboys game is a trend in the right direction. You saw a lot of the stuff you needed to see.
The football gods were very, very good to the Ravens because when you're struggling, particularly when you have, I was mistaken, it wasn't the second worst passing attack in football. They presently have the worst passing attack in football. They rank dead last, number 32 overall, but they have the number one rushing attack. And the number one rushing attack went up against the absolute worst run defense in the National Football League, which is the Dallas Cowboys. If you got all of those COVID issues, what's the simplest thing to do on a football field, assuming you can do it effectively? It's running the football. It's not throwing the football where you got to figure out reads, coverages, go through your progressions, et cetera, et cetera. It's simply handing the ball off to the person in the backfield and running the football. If you can institute and implement that simple formula and it works for you, nothing is complicated. And that's what happened with them last night. They were going against the Cowboys. They were able to run the football, and you didn't have to figure out anything or even work on anything else because you could run all day.
Yeah, it wasn't complicated, Ravens. It wasn't, oh, my God, look at that passing attack, Ravens. It was just a good performance by the Ravens.
They were the big man in a little man's contest.
Under trying circumstances recently.
Last night, the Ravens were the big man in a little man's contest. The Dallas Cowboys defense were the little men. Congratulations. So touching. It's really special.
Max, I want to come to you on this because you're an expert on a lot of things like Tom Brady, and it seems like Carson Wentz as well. So I will start with you on this subject. It is official. Eagles head coach Doug Peterson has named rookie Jalen Hurts his new starting quarterback for Sunday's game against the New Orleans Saints. They are tops in total defense. Carson Wentz will now be his backup. Max, do you think Carson will ever be a quality starter again?
No, I don't. And the shame of it is I saw this coming in slow motion and tried to warn everyone the entire time. He's going in the wrong direction at the end of last year. No, he's an MVP candidate. No, he's playing poorly against awful teams and getting a little lucky. Oh, but look at that throw. Yes, he can make one amazing throw again.